To be honest, I never saw myself covering Chris Chan again. I've made many videos on Chris Chan in the past, and I thought that after most recent news, it would be quite a while before any new Chris Chan news came out, and when that news came out, I didn't really think it was going to be that interesting. However, once again, here we are, because Chris Chan has done something insane. Or rather, I suppose their lawyer has done something insane, because it was recently made public that Chris Chan has been let go from prison with no charges. So in today's video, I'd like to recap people who aren't caught up on the situation, provide you new information on the situation, and delve in and break down this new information about Chris Chan being released from prison with no charges. This is going to be like an old school HarleyTBS video, so sit down and buckle up because we are in for a wild ride. Well, that is what I would be saying, but before we can actually get into the video, I wanted to make a request. I have a Twitter account where I provide supplemental context to videos like this or takes on these situations that I don't present within these videos. So if you'd like to go see those takes or just continue engaging with me outside of my content, please go follow me over there. I'm aiming for 10,000 followers and it would be highly appreciated if you could drop a follow. My handle is on screen and in the description, so I would appreciate any of that support. And with all of that out of the way, let's just jump right into it. Chris Chan is far and away one of the most documented public figures of all time, becoming infamous several decades ago now as a lolcow when sites like Kiwi Farms took to attacking them, trolling them, and otherwise making a joke out of them. Discussions surrounding Chris's bizarre life began when they created the character Sonichu, a fusion of Sonic and Pikachu that everyone recognizes for its individuality. Chris would engage with backlash they received from 4chan and Something Awful until eventually in 2007, sites like Encyclopedia Dramatica made pages talking solely about Chris and the many bizarre happenings in their life. Instead of ignoring public backlash like this, like most public figures would, Chris decided to engage with the trolls, giving them all the ammunition they needed and feeding them information about Chris's private life that was then used against them. And while some of these trolls were just having fun and not actually doing anything to cause real harm, like the Liquid Chris troll, there were much more insidious trolls out there, like those of Isabella, who we'll discuss in depth later. This kind of trolling got so bad that by the end of it, it felt like there was no fun to be had anymore. Genuinely, Chris's life seems to have become some kind of living hell where they could never escape public attention. They were followed no matter where they went. Every single decision they made would be publicized and clowned, and even when they thought they found relationships with people, they were normally people set up to f*** with them. However, while I would like to talk more in depth about all of this, I simply couldn't within this video. There is so much information to cover and I do not have the time for it. So if you're actually interested in hearing more about this situation, you could check out Gino Samuel's series about Chris Chan that now totals over 52 hours of content explaining every single notable event surrounding them. Yes, I said 52 hours. Genuinely, this shit is insane. This quite nicely leads us into what everyone knows Chris Chan for now. The most notable event in their life that I believe has dwarfed Sonichu and any other recognizable thing Chris Chan has done. The allegations that they had an incestuous relationship with their mother who has dementia. I'm going to be careful while touching this subject because I acknowledge that it is rather touchy and I kind of like doing this as a job and don't really want to lose that anytime soon. But the claim made was that because Chris Chan's mother had dementia, they couldn't really agree to that kind of illicit relationship, which ultimately led to Chris being arrested in 2021 based on the allegations.
Yeah, you're lying to about 3,000 people right now, Chris Chan. You're taking everything in stride. You said you're doing good?
Yeah, I keep it good faith. Everything is going to work out.
Doing good, feeling good? How's the last few days been? I know it's been pretty stressful.
It's stressful, but I'm taking it one moment at a time, and I've got my loves.
Christine, is the merge coming?
All right.
It's happening now. We're on the very
The
last
merge,
spread.
it's happening right now, isn't it?
Right now, it is.
We're living it.
It's happening right now.
Farewell, Chris Chan.
The dimensional merge is happening right now.
This is when a lot more information surrounding these allegations became public, and when, once again, the internet became even more concerned about this situation. Isabella, the troll who publicized the call where Chris confessed to an incestuous relationship with their mother, was exposed for being deeply involved with Chris's actions and attempting to cause Chris to take their life, attempting to extort money from Chris, and more. On the full version of their call with Chris, they seem to almost spur Chris to be involved with their mother in this way, taking gleeful joy out of ruining this person's life and motivating them to commit heinous acts.
But how did this happen? How did this come about?
Which just mainly I was
really, really hurting, and I need the true and honest relationship to come about. So obviously, this was one of the best ways to do it, despite it being with the. And I don't want to believe in labels at all, but
Right.
obviously, tell the fanfics have come true and.
I didn't even know there was such a thing. I didn't even know there was fanfics. Were there about you and Barbara? I can't believe that. I didn't even think that. I knew that you guys had a good relationship, but I always thought, because I'm not huge on Christery and, whatever, I just thought that the whole Sonichu franchise was very interesting, and that's how I got into you when I was younger, right? But I didn't have any idea that Barbara was, that Barbara and you had that sort of relationship. I never got any of those vibes. But how did you approach her?
Approached her with care and caution.
Hmm?
And it was a time approach. So I just gave her comfort and talked with her, and we just branched out slow and steady. And then I encouraged her positively, let her make the first move. And she wanted to do it. And
She did? Really? She made the first move?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow, Barbara. How did she do it, if you don't mind me asking? What was the first move?
I forgot exactly what terminology and approach I used, but I approached with care and caution.
And how did she respond when you approached her? What did she say?
I don't remember exactly what she said, but I think she was partially confused at one point, but then she came around, obviously, with more approaching than I was doing with her along the way.
How, if you don't mind me asking, I know it's probably personal, you have to answer, but how is this?
I'd say it was satisfactory. It took a while. It took a few tries to.
It took a few tries, yeah. She is older.
And plus, also, she's very understanding about the whole thing as well. I was direct with her, still direct and honest with her. I made sure that obviously, I'm never going to propose marriage to her at all, because we're already daughter.
How long have you two been going at it? Sorry?
We've been doing it every third night, and the first night being on June 27th. It took us a few nights to figure out what felt right and what didn't feel right. And
does your mother enjoy it?
She's having a good time, literally.
She is? She's having a good time?
Especially what we figured out.
While this doesn't mean Chris isn't responsible for their own actions, this means that Isabella is also responsible for some of them. When I first heard these claims, I struggled to understand how someone like Isabel could be this vile. But then I heard the rest of the allegations against Isabel, and I was lost for words. All at once, a colossal amount of claims about Isabel were made public. Alongside a plan Bella had made to drive Chris to take their own life, were claims that Isabel was subject to a Title IX investigation at their school, which is a process used to examine allegations of gender-based discrimination in SA. With a lot of the claims linked to this Title IX being later met with confessions, Bella was accused of multiple hamsters, with her providing images that seemed to verify these claims. It was alleged that Bella would place hidden cameras in a room with her roommates to gather blackmail on them, and honestly, this is just scraping the surface of these allegations, but I'm not going to delve too deep into them because I want this video to actually make it onto YouTube as a platform. So if you want to hear more about that, watch Turkey Tom's video about it. Continuing on to the court case, during Chris's second court appearance, it was noted that the attorney representing Greene County had asked the judge to deny Chris bond out of concern for the safety of the community and Miss Chandler. He would go on to elaborate, stating, "It's clear that people sought out where Chris was staying at a hotel and videotaped her arrest." Chris would interrupt at this point, stating, "I'm famous on the internet," to which their representative would state that they shouldn't speak unless they were spoken to by the court. Around this time, Chris would also write a letter. That letter would read the following: "It should be made obvious and clear that aside from Andy Warhol, my life events at present and so far can directly be compared and matched with that which have been chronicled of none other than Jesus Christ of Nazareth himself in any Holy Bible. Also, feel free to take any unaltered original photograph of my body's face, neck and shoulder/chest area where I was not wearing the glasses, then alter the photo to show a naturally growing brown beard, mustache and sideburns. Now place that photo next to any image of Jesus on or off the cross and compare. Look deep into my eyes and photograph. See for yourself." Chris would write another letter later on where they would suddenly and surprisingly change their story, claiming that the allegations of processed were entirely falsified by Bella, and that absolutely nothing beyond soul bonding ever happened. Chris would then appear at a court hearing on the 28th of July 2022, and as a result of this hearing, Chris's case was transferred to the grand jury for a potential felony charge. However, it was then reported on March of 2023 that Chris was out of custody, with the original leak claiming that they were bonded out, but then later being changed to state that they were released by court order. Now, this was all information we've had for months. The new information that has shocked everybody was the news that released on August 26th, when it became public that Chris Chan's case had been entirely dismissed. What this effectively means is that the court has decided to terminate this court case without imposing liability on the defendant. This could either be in response to a motion to dismiss the case or voluntarily. This means Christine is free and she can do what she wants now. I spent a while thinking about how to express my thoughts on this whole thing, and honestly, I think what Mutahar said at the end of his video was the best way to express my thoughts and feelings on this, so I'll let him elaborate for me.
Now, after having a whole night to truly process this information, waking up with more reflection, this entire case was kind of crapped out to begin with. Now, in no excuse am I sitting here trying to downplay the sick crimes and perversions, but this is one of those situations where the person committing them is just mentally not there. So I think the entire state just honestly kept them locked up in jail. Again, didn't really know how to process anything, and because of how long they spent in prison, I pretty much said early on, like months ago, that the reason that they're even allowed outside is because even if you looked at how much that they would get charged by, had they gone through sentencing and gone through an entire trial, they would have sentenced to say like a year or something, which if you've already spent a year in prison, as far as I understand legally, that's time served. So you would literally just say, hey, you've been sentenced to a year. Oh, you've already served a year? All right, get out. Which I think that's pretty much where it was coming down to. At the end of the day, I'm absolutely 100% sure that the stipulation is you don't go near old people and you're absolutely watched for the rest of your life. Which, given this person's, point in life, I absolutely believe that to be what they need, 100%. This is not like an adult. I mean, they're an adult in what they did, and they should be tried like an adult. But mentally, I don't think this person is an adult. And there's been an entire, I would say, decade plus 2 decade long campaign of trolling to the point where, like, they'll never be a normal person, okay? Chris Chan's never going to be normal. And this is where the saga ultimately stops, okay? This is where it's all pretty much done. I don't think they'll be allowed to make posts, videos, on the internet, just because that's pretty much what invites situations like this in the first place. You know, if you looked back into like Isabella Janky, the troll group that basically goaded Chris Chan into doing this heinous action in the first place, they're not going to allow this person to touch the internet, and if they do touch the internet, not to produce any generated content. And maybe that is like the stipulation. Maybe breaking that can cause severe consequences. But if it's one thing about consequences in Chris Chan's life, again, like I said earlier last night, okay, literally they could commit a murder, have the murder weapon on them dripping blood, and still somehow find a way to get away. That's how insane it is.
With that being said, thank you for watching this video. If you are new to the channel, please do consider subscribing, and if possible, could you check out this video I released the other day? YouTube decided they didn't want to promote it, so I guess it's my job to promote it to you. Go watch it, I would appreciate the support. I think it's a fun, simple, enjoyable video that shows more of my personality. Check out my other social media linked in the description down below if you'd like to support me over there on those platforms. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the whole Chris Chan situation, so if you'd like to leave a long comment, I always respond to comments within the first few hours, so expect a response and me to engage, and I'll do my best to communicate with all of you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.